Right. So good evening to everyone and welcome to Moyo Math. Apologies for the late start. Of course, tomorrow is that very crucial and important exam. So what we're going to do tonight we are going to do a paper just to ensure that we're ready and we are comfortable to enter that exam tomorrow and do an excellent paper. Today I'm going to do, and I saw persons would have requested that paper in the chat, where they wanted me to go through June 2021 paper. So I'm going to go through that paper tonight, and from there, of course, we're going to do our own personal revision to prepare for that exam tomorrow. Of course, we had the exercise, a session, very nice session on Saturday. That session could have been accessed through madeacademy.com, and it can still be accessed through madeacademy.com. I have a mock exam paper that each and everyone can access, an important mock exam paper that I think you should access and try do, because that will certainly help to prepare you for the exam. Of course, you can only access that mock exam through madeacademy.com, and you have to pay a price of $250, TT dollars that is. Alright, so once you are willing to access that paper, that mock exam paper, and all other exams that was given on Saturday, because we had a very good session on Saturday, you can do so through madeacademy.com. Alright, so let us get started. Alright, so tonight we're looking at June 2021 CSEC multiple choice exam paper, paper 1. And again, a number of these questions are repeated questions, so we want to ensure that we can recognize these questions. If we do see it in the examination, let us ensure that we, one, not just hurriedly share the answer, but make sure you read the question carefully to ensure that no minor changes were made, because CSEC often do that. They will make minor changes to throw you off. So please make sure that you read the question carefully before you answer. Alright? So let's look at question 1. Question 1 says, and this here is certainly a repeat. We have negative 3 in brackets squared plus negative 2 in brackets all squared. And we know negative 3 squared is negative 3 by negative 3 plus negative 2 all squared is negative 2 by negative 2. Negative 3 by negative 3 gives positive 9 plus negative 2 by negative 2 is positive 4. And 9 plus 4 will give us 13. Whose answer for question 1 is C. So keep it in mind, let me just write on at the top of the board, this is June 2021, paper 1. Alright? So let's move on now to question 2. Question 2. So another question that repeats itself regularly. What percentage of 40 is 8? So we don't know what's the percentage, we have to find it. So let's call that percentage X percent of 40 is equal to 8. So we know X percent is the same as X all over 100 times 40 is equal to 8. The aim is to find X. So we can simply cancel our 2 zeros. We can multiply X by 4. This is the same as 4 over 1. So X by 4 will give us 4X. 10 by 1 will give us 10 is equal to 8. What we can do here at this point is cross multiply. So we're going to get 1 by 4x will give us 4x. 10 by 8 is 80. And we're going to divide both sides by 4. X is equal to 20%. So for question 2, the answer there it is B. Let's move on to question 3. So question 3. So question 3. So another repeated question. So this we see regularly in the exam. we have if 235 multiplied by 48.7 is equal to 11444.5, then what is 23.5 multiplied by 0.487? Of course, we don't have access to our calculators in the exam, so you cannot just take a calculator and work out 23.5 by 0.487. So what we're going to do is this. So we want to be able to move from 235 to 23.5. So how do we do so? So to move from 235 to 23.5, it means we have to divide 235 by 10. So dividing 235 by 10, it will give us 23.5. But we have to also know that 235 divided by 10 is the same as 235 by 10 to the power of negative 1. This is something we have to understand, because 10 in the denominator has a power of positive 1, and if you move this 10 from the denominator to the numerator, of course it becomes multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 1. So to move from 235 to 23.5, I have to multiply 235 by 10 to the power of negative 1. So I'm going to put here multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 1. And to move from 48.75 to 0.4875, it means I have to take 48.7, sorry. And for me to move from 48.7 to 0.487, I have to divide 48.7 by 100, or 10 to the power of 2. So if I divide 48.7 by 100, obviously I'm going to get 0.487. And 100 is the same as 10 to the power of 2. But 48.7 divided by 10 to the power of 2 is the same as 48.7 multiplied by 10 to the power of negative 2. They both are the same. So to move from 48.7 to 0.487, I have to multiply by 10 to the power of negative 2. So 10 to the power of negative 1 by 10 to the power of negative 2 is the same as 10 to the power of negative 3. So I'm going to multiply 11444.5 by 10 to the power of negative 3. So 10 to the power of negative 1 by 10 to the power of negative 2 will give you 10 to the power of negative 3. You have the same base, keep the base, add the powers, and when I multiply that by 10 to the power of negative 3, or I divide by 1000, which is 10 to the power of 3, both are the same, I'm going to move this point, how many places? 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to get here as my final result, I'm going to get 11.4445, whose answer is for question 3A. Alright, so question 3A. Let's move on now to question 4. So question 4. Using the distributive property, 49 by 17 plus 49 by 3 is the same as. So for question 4, and another question we see regularly in the exam. This is 49 by 17 plus 49 by 3. And if we apply the distributive law, this is the same as 49 times 17 plus 3. So if you multiply, you have 17 and plus 3 in brackets, and you have to remove the brackets. 49 by 17 will give you what we have here, plus 49 by 3 will give you what we have here. But of course, when we simplify this, this becomes 49, and we have 20 in brackets, and 49 with 20 in brackets is the same as 49 multiplied by 20. So for question 4, the answer is E. So let's look at question 5. So question 5. A test was marked out of 80. A boy scored 60% of the marks on the test. How many marks did he score? So 60% of the mark is just for us to find 60% of 80. So for question 5. And another repeated question. This is 60%. So marks scored will be 60% of 80, which is 60 over 100 times 80, which will be zeros cancel out, 0 cancel, zeros cancel, 6 by 8 will give us 48. So the marks scored by this boy will be 48 marks, right? Whose answer for question 5 is B. Let's look at question 6. So question 6. Dan sold 40 concert tickets in 5 days. Each day he sold 3 tickets more than the previous day. The number of tickets he sold on the 3rd day is. So we have Dan and he sold 40 tickets in 5 days. So for question 6, let's consider our days. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each day he sold 3 tickets more than the previous day. So if in the first day Dan sold X tickets, in the second day he sold 3 tickets more than the previous day, so this will be what? X plus 3. In the third day, 3 tickets more than the previous day, that will be X plus 6. The fourth day, 3 tickets more than the previous day, that will be X plus 9. The fifth day, 3 tickets more than the previous day, which is X plus 12. So we want to determine the number of tickets Dan sold on the 3rd day, which is this we're looking at. So for us to find that value, obviously we need to find X. So to find X, we can simply create an equation here. Dan sold 40 tickets in 5 days. So let's get the number of tickets sold in terms of X. So this will be X plus 3 plus X plus 6 plus X plus 9 plus X plus 12, and this will be equal to your 40 tickets. So we have our 40 tickets as an expression in terms of X. And let us, of course, we have created this equation. Let's simplify. 1x plus 1x plus 1x plus 1x plus 1x. X plus x plus x plus x plus x will be 5x. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. And 18 plus 20 will give us what? 30 is equal to 40. And now let us simply solve for x. This will be 5x is equal to 40 minus 30. So therefore 5x will be equal to 10. And what we can do now is to make x the subject by dividing both sides by 5. So x is equal to 2. So having found x as 2, we can now determine the number of tickets sold on the 3rd day, which is this x plus 6. We're going to replace x with 2. So therefore, tickets, number of tickets sold on 3rd day will be equal to 2 plus 6, which will be 8 tickets. Right? So for question 6, the answer there it is E. Alright? So let's move on now to question 7. So question 7. So question 7. Which of the following sets is defined by negative 2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 4. So for question 7, so we have here an inequality. We have a range of values of x, and we want to determine what values of x lie within that range. So we have negative 2. Z is such that negative 2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 4. Of course, within open and closed curly brackets, your set of numbers that lie within the range, set of elements that lie within the range. So to treat with this, what we're going to do, and I will always advise you separate it. So you're going to write this as negative 2 is less than or equal to x, and x is less than or equal to 4. And when treating with inequalities, it's important to ensure that the unknown is on the left side of the inequality symbol. So in this case, negative 2 is less than or equal to x. We want this x on the left. We saw x less than or equal to 4. X is on the left. We also want this x on the left-hand side. So to do so, what we can do is just simply switch them around. So I'm going to put x here, I'm going to put negative 2 here, but what will also change is the inequality symbol. So this will change from less than or equal to greater than or equal to. Alright, and x is less than or equal to 4. So what does this mean? This means x greater than or equal to negative 2 means we are considering numbers from negative 2 onwards. So we're looking at negative 2, we're looking at negative 1, we're looking at 0, we're looking at 1, we're looking at 2, and in this case we're considering x less than or equal to 4. So we're looking at 4 and what is less than 4. So this is 3, 4, close brackets. So we have our list of numbers that lie within the given range of values. Okay, so x greater than or equal to, very important. This means greater than or equal to, we are including 2. This is x is less than or equal to 4, it means you are including 4. So the answer for question 7 is D. So 7D. Let's move on to question 8. So 8. So we're looking at a question involving set theory. So from 7 onwards, so we're going to see a particular section involving sets. So the first section dealt with number theory. This section will shoot with set theory. So we have here question 8. If Q has elements A, B, C, how many subsets can be obtained from set Q? Now this is important for us to know. Set Q has elements A, B, C. And we want to determine how many subsets. To determine the number of subsets, there's an important formula you must know. So the number of subsets will be found by using this important formula. Make sure you know that formula. That formula, it is 2 to the power of n. And n there represents the number of elements. So n is the number of elements. N is the number of elements. So if you have to determine the number of subsets, this will be 2 to the power of how many elements? 1, 2, 3 elements. That's 2 to the power of 3, which is the same as 2 by 2 by 2, which is 8. So the number of subsets will be 8, but we want our answer expressed as, in this case, it's 2 to the power of 3. Alright, so this answer is D. So sometimes you see either or. Sometimes they give you 2 to the power of 3, sometimes they give you 8 as the answer. Alright, let's move on to question 9. So question 9. So the set of positive integers is an example of, alright, so this will be an infinite set, good? So a set of positive integers. So we have positive integers will be positive numbers. So they didn't indicate, where our set of positive integers will end. So we're looking at a set of positive numbers, and once we have a set of positive numbers, so for example, if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these are positive integers. 7, all the way, keep going on and on and on. The dotted line means, dots means we're going on and on and on, and such a set will be known as an infinite set. So for question 9, the answer here will be C. Alright, let's move on to question 10. So 10, right, another very common question, good? So we have here the number of elements of the universal set, the number of elements of A, number of elements of B, number of elements of A intersect B is 6. What is the number of elements of A union B? So there's an important formula we must be familiar with when it comes to the union of two sets. So that is the number of elements of A union B is equal to the number of elements of A plus the number of elements of B minus the number of elements of A intersect B. So therefore, if we have to determine the number of elements of A union B, it's going to be the number of elements of A, which is 14, plus the number of elements of B, which is 15, minus the number of elements of A intersect B, which is 6. So this will give us 14 plus 15, which is 29, and 29 minus 6 will give us 23. So for question 10, the answer is C. So make sure we know this formula, because this is a common question. It is a very common repeated question. So make sure we know that formula. We can use it to find any one of the variables shown. So let's look at question 11. So 11. Right, another very common question. We want to determine what is the shaded area or the shaded region. So the shaded region or area is what? So we're looking at, this is set P, and we're looking at the region outside, everything that is outside of set P. So anything that is outside of the given set is known as a complement of the given set. And the complement is denoted by a little stroke at the top right of the given set. So if we look here, this is P, and everything outside of P represents a complement of P. So we can write it as P complement. So for question 11, the answer is A. So let's move on now to question 12. So question 12. The 30 students in teacher May's class have either a dog or a cat, or none of the two. 16 students have a dog, 12 students have a cat. So 16 students have a dog, 12 students have a cat, right? And the remainder have neither a cat nor a dog. Which of the Venn diagrams below correctly represents the information? So this is pretty straightforward. So we have 16 students, we have 30 students in Miss May's class, and we have 16 students have a dog, right? Separate. 12 students have a cat, separate. So clearly this joint, there's nothing common between them. And the remainder have neither. So we have the remainder of students who have neither, and that is normally placed outside of the given set. So what will apply to this information given will be D. So we're looking at this joint set. So 16 students have a dog, 12 students have a cat, and if we add 16 to 12, we're going to get 28, and 28 from the total number of students will give us, 28 from 30 will give us 2. 2 students will have neither a cat nor a dog. So we're looking at, for question 12, we are looking at this Venn diagram. So dog, cat, 16, 12, 2, whose answer is D. Let's look at question 13. And sometimes with this question, you have to be very careful. Sometimes they use the word all. So when you see all, read your question carefully. This wouldn't be our set we're going to use, right? So when you look at the past papers and you see something similar to this, when they use all, keep in mind it's subset. So we're looking at this, if that's the case, okay? So just read your questions, be careful, be conscious, all right? So let's look at question 13. So question 13, right, at a bank, 260 EC is equivalent to US $1. For every $1 US exchange, EC 10 cents is deducted as an exchange fee. How many EC dollars will Leon receive if he exchanges US $100? So we have this exchange rate between EC and US dollars. And for every $1 US exchange, this amount of EC dollars will be deducted, right, as an exchange fee. So we want to determine how many EC dollars will Leon receive if he exchanges US $100. So let's determine how much EC first Leon will exchange, or Leon will receive for that US $100. So for us to do so, we're going to use the exchange rate given. So we know that $2.60 EC is equivalent to US $1, and whatever you have to convert to always goes on the right of the relationship. So we want to convert US $100 into EC. So we're going to begin by using the relationship US $1 is equal to EC $2.60. Whatever you have to convert to goes on the right. So therefore US $100 will be to multiply EC $2.60 by 100. And if we multiply $2.60 by 100, we're going to get EC $260. Yeah? But then it states for every US $1 exchange, EC 10 cents is deducted. Yeah? So if EC 10 cents is deducted, then you know for every every one US dollar exchange, EC 10 cents is deducted. You have 100 US dollars, so that is equivalent to how many EC? So EC deducted or amount deducted will be to multiply 100 by 10 cents. So if we multiply 100 by 10 cents EC, this is equivalent to what? EC $10. So this is the amount that is going to be deducted. So how much money will Leon, is it Leon? Yes. How much money will Leon receive? Leon will receive, amount received will be to subtract the $10 from $260, which will give us what? 250 EC dollars. Alright? So Leon would have received $250, whose answer for question 13 is C. Alright, let's look at question 14. So question 14. So question 14. If $7,000 is borrowed at a rate of 5% per annum for 3 years, what is the simple interest? Again, another common question, repeated simple interest they must bring. So for 14, if we have to determine what is the simple interest, we know interest is equal to what? Interest is equal to principal by rate by time all over 100. The principal is what? The principal is 7,000. The rate is what? 5%. Time has always been years, so we have 3 years. All over 100. So when we work that out, what are we going to get? Of course, my zeros go, and when I multiply 15 by 70, we're going to get 15 by 70 will give us $1,050 will be the interest. Alright? So the interest here will be D. Alright, let's look at question 15. So 15. So for question 15, it says here that a dress cost, and again, another very important question and repeated question, right? A dress which costs $180 is being sold at a discount of 10%. The amount of the discount, now we have to be very careful, right? Students often mix up discount with discounted price. Okay, all I want is a discount, not a discounted price. Okay, so for question 15, if a dress costs $180 and is being sold at a discount of 10%, the amount of the discount, what is the discount? So cost of dress equals $180. Of course, discount is 10%. So of course, that will be 10% of our $180. And 10% of 180, of course, will be 10 over 100 by 180. 0 goes, 0 goes, 0 goes, 0 goes. 1 by 18 will be $18. So the discount will be $18, not discounted price, okay? So if they ask you the discounted price, then you will subtract the 18 from the 180, so you know what's the discounted price. But the discount is $18. So just be very careful when you're reading your question and not to make that mistake, alright? So this will be for question 15, that is C. Okay, let's look at now question 16. So 16. Right, so the article is bought for $125 and sold for $175. The profit as a percentage of the cost price is. So they want us to determine what is the profit and to represent that profit as a percentage of the cost price. So to determine that percentage profit, it is your profit, and your profit is when your selling price is obviously more than your cost price. So it's sold for $175, which will represent your selling price. So it's going to be selling price, and the cost price, of course, is $125. So it was bought initially for $125. It was sold for $175. So obviously a profit was made. And if you have to represent that as a percentage, we're going to take the profit, which is your selling price minus your cost price. You're going to put it all over the original cost price and we multiply by 100. So the selling price here is $175 minus the cost price is $125. You're going to put it all over the original cost price, which is $125 times 100. So we're going to get here 50 over 125 times 100. So let's break it down. We're going to get, I can say 25 into 50 is 2, and 25 into 125, that is 5, yeah? Yeah? And I can now say 5 into 5 is 1, 5 into 100 is 20, and I can multiply 20 by 2, which will give us what? 40. So for question 16, the answer is B, 40%. So that answer is B. Alright, let's look at question 16. So question 17, sorry, so question 17 now. So question 17. Right, so we have here so 17. The value of a plot of land is $18,000. Land tax is charged at a rate of 70 cents per $100 value. What is the total amount of tax paid on the land? Good? So we have this plot of land is valued at $18,000, but land tax is charged at 70 cents per $100 value. So what we need to do is first determine how many $100 values we can obtain from that $18,000. And once we determine that, then we can multiply that amount by 70 cents for us to determine what is the tax paid on the land. So we can simply state here, so value of land is $18,000, right? So number of $100 from $18,000 will be equal to what? So we're going to divide $18,000 by 100. So we know the number of $100 we can obtain from that will be 180. So 180 $100 we can obtain from that $18,000. But if each $100 is the tax, right, is charged at a rate of 70 cents, right, per on each $100, you have 180 of them, then the tax, the land tax, will be to multiply 180 by 70 cents. When we multiply 180 by 70 cents, we're going to get $126. Right, so this will be the land tax. So that's the tax. So that will be C. Let's look at question 18. So 18, it says here, so if the simple interest of $900 for 3 years was $108, what was the rate of interest? Now this is important with simple interest. You know, many persons, they know the formula for simple interest. And the formula for simple interest, I, is equal to principal by rate by time over 100. But when it comes to finding other variables, principal, rate, time, that's where we sometimes have little issues. So we want to make sure if you are asked to find the rate, you are asked to find the principal or time, what do we do? So I is the same as I over 1 as a fraction. So you want to remove this from its fractional form. So to do so, you can cross multiply. That can only be done once you have single fractions on either side of the equal sign, right? The process of cross multiplication. So when you multiply 1 by PRT, you're going to get PRT. When you multiply I by 100, you're going to get 100I. And if you have to get the rate, that's what they want you to find, and you have to get that R by itself, it means you have to remove P and T. And from your knowledge of equations, this is P multiplied by R multiplied by T. So I carry out the opposite in operation, which is to divide PRT by PT. And whatever is done to one side, I will do to the other. So I divide 100I by PT as well. So my two P and T's divide into each other to give 1 on the left. I'm left with R, which is my rate, which is equal to 100I over the principal by time. So make sure you know this. And similarly, if you have to make P the subject, or you make time the subject, you do the same, right? To help you to get that variable by itself. So now let's put in the information. If the simple interest on $900 for 3 years was 108, so I know that the interest is 108. 100 times 108. The principal, of course, will be my $900. And the time, of course, always in years, will be 3 years. So let's simplify that and determine what's the rate as a percentage. So my 0 goes, 0 goes, 0 goes, 0 go. I can divide 9 into 108. So 9 into 10 is 1, remainder 1. 9 into 18 is 2. So 9 into 108 will give me 12. And I can divide now 3 into 12. 3 into 3 is 1. And 3 into 12 is 4. So I'm going to get here a rate of interest as a percentage, remember, as 4%. So for question 18, the answer there is E. Okay, let's move on to question 19. So 19. Right, another question that they love to bring regularly in the exam. So 19. At the beginning of any year, a car is worth 5% less than what it was worth at the beginning of the year. If a car was worth $9,500 in December 2016, then what is its value in January 2016? So at the beginning of the year, so this is January 2016, of course, we want to determine what's the value of the car. But it says that the car at the end of the year, the car was worth 5% less than what it was worth at the beginning of the year. So let's consider the percentage at the beginning of the year as 100%. Now we don't know the value, we want to find that value. So I'm going to put a question mark as the value. Now, in December 2016, this car, obviously if it's a vehicle or car, is going to depreciate, right? So it was worth 5% less than what it was worth at the beginning of the year. So 5% less will take this down to what? To 95%. So in December 2016, the value of this car is now $9,500. So what we have established here is a proportional relationship, and we can use this relationship to help us to determine the value of the car at the beginning of the year. So I can simply say here 95% is equal to $9,500. I find for 1%, which is 9,500 divided by 95, and then for 100% will help me to determine what is the value of the car at the beginning of the year. So 100% will be 9,500 over 95 times 100. 95 into 9,500 will be 100, and 100 by 100 will give me $10,000. So the value of the car at the beginning of the year is $10,000, whose answer is B. So for question 19, the answer is B. So let's move on to question 20. So 20. So all who are on tonight, I know the exam is tomorrow, but don't forget to like and subscribe, right? Make sure you press that subscribe button, right? So question 20. So let's look at it. Right, so a man's regular pay is $3 per hour up to 40 hours. Overtime is twice the payment for regular time. He was paid $216. How many hours of overtime did he work? So this man's regular pay is $3 per hour up to 40 hours. And of course, overtime, when you work overtime, you're paid more, right? But the rate of pay, the hourly rate of pay will be more. So overtime is twice the payment of the regular time. So if he's paid $216 within that given period, how many hours did he work overtime? Now this $216 represent how much money he was paid in all, which will include his basic wage and his overtime wage. So that 216 represent what you call your gross wage. So the gross wage is the basic wage plus the overtime wage. So his gross wage is $216. His basic wage is he worked $3 per hour up to 40 hours, okay? So when you multiply $3 by 40 hours, that will help us to determine what is his basic wage. Good? So we multiply the number of hours by the basic rate, which is that $3 per hour, the hourly payment. So therefore, his basic wage will be $120. So let us now make the overtime wage, which I'm going to denote by X, is subject, so we can determine what is the overtime wage and hence proceed towards finding the number of hours he worked overtime. So therefore, his overtime wage will be to subtract 120 from 216, yeah? And when we subtract 120 from 216, we are going to get 96. So $96 will be his overtime wage. So therefore, if we have to find the number of hours worked, we need to understand what's the formula for overtime wage. Overtime wage is equal to the overtime rate multiplied by the number of hours worked overtime. Right? So we know what's the overtime wage. The overtime wage is $96. The overtime rate, which is the hourly rate. Now remember, the overtime rate is twice the payment of the regular time. So the regular payment per hour is $3 per hour. And if overtime is twice that payment, then his hourly rate overtime will be to multiply 2 by 3. Which of course will be $6 per hour he's getting now. So $6 per hour times, and I'll put the overtime, number of hours worked overtime as, I'll put that as X. So this becomes what? This becomes, let me put it as something else, let me put it as Y. Then this will be 96 is equal to 6 times Y, and therefore to get Y by itself, I'm going to divide 96 by 6. And when I divide 96 by 6, I'm going to get the number of hours worked overtime as 16 hours. So this is number of hours over time, right? Worked over time. So that answer for question 20 will be B. So let's look at question 21. 21. So 21, right, so what we would have done is to look at the consumer arithmetic section of the paper. So the paper is normally broken up into sections, and what we just did was the consumer arithmetic section. Now we're looking at the algebra section, right? So we're looking at 21. So what is that equal to? What is that expression in fractional form equal to? We have 1 over 5x plus 2 over 3x. So when we're adding or subtracting fractions, whether it's basic fractions, we're adding, or fractions in algebraic form, the first thing we must do is find the LCM. So the LCM, we take our numbers, 5 and 3, the LCM of 5 and 3 is 15, and the variable x will automatically be a part of the LCM. So 15x will be our LCM. So let's divide the denominator 5x into your LCM 15x. So when I divide 5x into 15x, of course x into x is 1, 5 into 15 is 3, and I'm going to take that result and I'm going to multiply that by the numerator. So 3 by 1 gives me 3. Plus, let me divide the denominator for my second fraction into my LCM. So I'm going to divide x into x is 1, and 3 into 15 is 5, and I'm going to take that result 5 and I'm going to multiply by the numerator 2. 5 by 2 gives me 10. Of course, I can add 10 and 3 to give me 13 over 15x. Alright, nothing else can be done there, and that remains your answer. So your answer for question 21 is D. So let's move on now to question 22. Yeah, 22. So 22. Right, so 7 times the product of two numbers A and B may be written as, pretty straightforward, 7 times the product means to multiply. The product of A and B can be written as 7AB. Whose answer is for 22 is E. So let's move on to 23. So 23. What is the value of x squared plus 3y over xy if x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 2. So this is a simple case of substituting, but again, for variables, those numbers for those variables, but we have to be very careful because sometimes we make simple mistakes with substituting. So this will be x squared plus 3y all over xy. So I'm going to replace x with 4 and y with 2. So I'm replacing x with 4, so 4 in brackets squared, plus 3, I'm replacing y with 2 in brackets. All over this xy here means x multiplied by y. So this is simply 4, which is x, multiplied by 2, which is y. Make sure you put them in brackets to show your multiplication, your multiplying. So this becomes 4 squared, which is 16, plus 3 by 2 is 6. All over 4 by 2 is 8. 16 plus 6 will give me 22. All over 8, and let me simplify that. So 2 into 22 is 11, 2 into 8 is 4. So when I convert that in proper fraction to a mix, 4 into 11, 4 by 2 is 8, and 8 from 11 is 3, I have a remainder of 3, so I have 2 and 3/4. So 2 and 3/4 for question 23, whose answer is D. So let's move on to question 24. So 24, Right, so we have an equation, and again, this is a regular question we see in the paper. So we have 5 in brackets 2x minus 1 is equal to 35. So for us to solve for x, all we have to do is remove the brackets. We're going to multiply 5 by 2x and 5 by negative 1. 5 by 2x will be 10x. 5 by negative 1 is negative 5 is equal to 30. So for me to solve for x, I'm going to remove negative 5 first. So I'm going to use the balancing method. So I add 5 to negative 5. And I also add 5 to 35. So some of us may take negative 5 and put it over on the right, change the sign, no problem. So of course negative 5 plus 5 will be 0. I'm left with 10x is equal to 40. And I can divide both sides by 10. And therefore x will be equal to 4. So for question 24, my answer is D. So let's look at question 25. So 25. So John has X marbles and Max has twice as many marbles as John. Max gave John 5 of his marbles. How many marbles does John have now? So John has X marbles and Max has twice as many marbles as John. So this is John put as J, and Max has twice as many marbles as John. This is Max. Good? So Max gave John 5 of his marbles. So if he gave John 5 of his marbles, how many marbles does John have now? Then clearly, we're just going to add 5 to x, good? And that answer there for question 25 will be B, which is x plus 5. So therefore, number of marbles John have will be x plus 5. Good? So whose answer there is B, 25. So let's move on to 26. So question 26 states, right, so simple substitution. So we have 26, A is equal to 3, and AB is equal to 6. They want us to find what is A squared plus B squared, right? What is A squared? Well, minus B squared. Good? So if A is 3, and the objective now is to find the value for A squared minus B squared. So what we want to do is to find what B is equal to. We already know A is 3. We need to find B so we can replace both A and B in this expression with their values and work it out. So to find B, all we're going to do is substitute A equal to 3 into our equation given here. So you have A is equal to 3, you have AB is equal to 6. So let me call this equation 1, equation 2. Let me substitute 1 into 2. So this becomes, if I substitute 1 into 2, we're going to get 3B is equal to 6. And therefore B is equal to 6 over 3, B is 2. So we know A is equal to 3 and we know B is 2. Simple. So all we're going to do now is substitute A with 3 and B with 2. So we're going to get what? 3. Therefore A squared minus B squared will be 3 in bracket squared, which is A, minus 2 in bracket squared, which is B. 3 squared is what? 9. And 9 minus 4 will give us 5. So for question 26, the answer there is C. Let's look at 27. So 27. So for 27, we have here, right, so we have a matrix question. So we have this matrix A and it asks us to state the order of matrix A. So we know what's the order of a matrix. The order of a matrix is basically the number of rows times number of columns. So, how many rows? Our rows run horizontally. So, we have how many rows here? We have 1, 2, 3 rows. So, we know the number of rows will be 3 times number of columns. Let's see how many columns we have here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Keeping in mind that your columns run vertically, so the number of columns will be 4. So the order of that matrix will be a 3 by 4 matrix whose answer for 27C. So for question 27C, so let's move on to question 28. So 28, the determinant of the identity matrix is, so of course we must first recognize what is the identity matrix. So the identity matrix, which we denote by I, is a standard 2 by 2 matrix, otherwise known as a diagonal matrix. It's going to be 1, 0, 0, 1. So that is your identity matrix. And they want us to find the determinant of that identity matrix. So it requires us as well to know how to find the determinant of a matrix. So the determinant, those two parallel lines on either side of I, is formed by using the formula AD minus BC. And of course, we can label this as A, B, C, and D. And let's substitute into our formula for the determinant so we can work out what is the value of the determinant of that identity matrix. So this is what? A is 1 in brackets times D is 1 in brackets minus B is 0 in brackets times C is 0 in brackets. So 1 by 1 is 1 minus 0. So the determinant of the identity matrix is 1, whose answer for 28 is E. So 28E. So let's look at 29. So 29. So 29, right, so you have here vectors. So the vectors P and Q are 3, 2 and negative 1, 4 respectively, meaning P is equal to 3, 2, so the column vector 3, 2, and Q is equal to the column vector negative 1, 4. Then they want us to determine what is P minus 2Q. So P minus 2Q. So I'll always advise you have P, you set it up. So you have P, which is 3, 2. Subtract, so you work out P. When you have P, you work out 2Q and then you subtract them. Okay? So don't treat this as negative 2. So this is P, you work out 2Q. So this is 2 times the matrix Q. So, forget the subtraction sign for now. So, we have 3, 2. Let's work out 2Q. 2 by negative 1 is negative 2. 2 by 4 is what? 8. And now we're going to do what? Subtract them. So, students make the mistake and treat that as negative 2 and we multiply negative 2 by the elements within. So, this is vector P subtract vector 2Q. So, you have vector P. You work out what is vector 2Q, then subtract them. So let's subtract them. This becomes 3 subtract negative 2 in brackets, and this becomes 2 subtract 8. So of course, this will be a minus by a minus is a plus. So you're going to get 5, and 2 minus 8 will give us negative 6. Whose answer there for 29 is D. Okay, let's look at question 30. So 30, we have, right, so another vector question. I hope you can see, it's a bit blurred. So Rm, they want us to determine what is vector Rm in terms of A and B. Good? So it says if item 30 refers to the following diagram of triangle OLM, in which R is the midpoint. So we've seen R here is the midpoint of OL, and T, this is T here, is the midpoint of OM. Right? Further, vector OR has magnitude A. So we see vector OR here. It has a magnitude A. And vector OT, we see OT here, has magnitude B. So it is important when dealing with vectors. What I will just quickly redraw. Right? If we're dealing with vectors or when dealing with vectors, all vector quantities will have two very important things. It's going to have magnitude and it's going to have direction. So if R is the midpoint of OL and T is the midpoint of OM, and note when you use the word midpoint in vectors, it means R will divide this vector OL into two equal vectors. So their magnitudes will be the same. So if vector OR, remember all vector quantities will have what? Direction. Alright? And magnitude. Vector OR has magnitude A. It also means that vector RL will have magnitude A. Good? And if vector OT has magnitude B, it also means that vector TM will have magnitude B. Because remember, they are both midpoints. T and R are midpoints, so they will allow that to happen. So they want us to now determine vector RM in terms of A and B. So where is vector RM? So I'm seeing R, I'm seeing M here, so I'm going to connect them. So I draw a line from R to M, and all vector quantities will have direction and magnitude. So let me put the direction from R to M. And with vectors, what will come into play is something called the triangle law. And with the triangle law, we must have a triangle, but we must also have the magnitudes of two vectors on that triangle, which we do have. We have vector OR, whose magnitude is A, and we have vector OM, whose magnitude is what? B plus B, 2B. So we see this triangle here that RM is a part of. So now let's use the triangle law. So using triangle law, triangle law is where two vectors, once they follow each other or they move in the same direction, we add them. So we look to see which two arrows, let's look at the arrows, let's see which arrow follows the next. And if we look, OR follows RM, those two vectors move in the same direction. And when they move in the same direction, what do you do with them? You add them. So you're going to say vector OR plus vector RM, because they follow each other, they move in the same direction, so you add them. You will always recognize the two inner letters are the same. That will always happen with the triangle law. And you connect the outer in that order to give you OM, which is known as a resultant vector. So therefore, to find RM, I have to make it the subject. So I've created this equation from the triangle law. Making RM the subject, this becomes OM minus OR. Vector OM, the magnitude will be B plus B, which is 2B. Subtract vector OR, the magnitude is A. So vector RM is equal to 2B minus A, whose answer is A. Alright? So don't forget, I have, if you want to access the mock exam, an important mock exam with about 75 questions that will certainly help, and 75 questions that will come from each of the sections. It can be accessed through maidacademy.com, right? Don't forget, you have to pay for it, right? Pay to do the mock exam, to access the mock exam. So you should consider taking advantage of that opportunity. So you can join maidacademy.com, maybe payment, access the mock exams and other examinations to help you to prepare for the exam tomorrow. Alright? Okay, so let's move on. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So let's move on to question 31. So 31. So it says here, for 31, so given the 1 millimeter is equal to 1/1000 meters, then 2500 millimeters will be equal to what? So if 1 millimeter is equal to 1/1000 meters, then what is 2500 millimeters? So what are we going to do? This will be So 2500, this will be equal to 1 all over 1000 multiplied by 2500. When we divide those two, what are we going to get? This will be, and this will be 25 divided by 10. So for question 31, the answer is 25 divided by 10 will give us 2.5 meters, whose answer there is B for question 31. Let's move on to question 32. How many kilograms, are in 1 ton? So pretty straightforward. So we know that straightforward 1000 kilograms is equal to 1 ton. So for question 32, so 1000 kilograms is equal to 1 ton. Whose answer for 32 is C. Let's move on to question 33. So 33, right? So again, this section of the past paper exercise, or for any past paper, math past paper, deals with this section, deals with the metric system, and you're dealing with the area, perimeter of shapes and figures and volume of solids. So normally you have a section where that will come into play. You have this section, yes, you have to make sure you know the area with shapes and figures, know how to convert from one unit to another, right? So it says here, it's in front of the paper. Okay, nice. Yeah? So it says here, we have a trapezium, so 33, so you have 33. And when you leave in the exam, they will give you information regarding, the area of those shapes and figures, so you can always look at the front of the paper to help you to get some of the formulas from the formula sheet, which they sometimes bring. So, what is the area? This is a trapezium, and we want to determine what is the area of a trapezium. So the area of a trapezium is what? And we have to know that formula. It is going to be a half multiplied by the sum of two parallel sides by the perpendicular height. And what are our parallel sides? So we're going to have here, call this A, that's one parallel side, and let's call this B, that there's another parallel side, and let this be your perpendicular height. Perpendicular means where one line meets another at right angles. So this is your perpendicular height each. So let's make our substitution into our formula. This will be a half times A, which is 8, plus B, which is 18, times the perpendicular height, which is 5. So this will be a half times 8 plus 18 will give us 26 by 5. This is a half times 26. This will become 2 into 1. 2 into 26 is 13, and 13 by 5 will give us 65 centimeters squared, will be the area of our trapezium, whose answer there is B. So 33B. So let's look at 34. So 34. So 34 states, right, at a party, the number of guests will serve 15 liters of champagne. Each guest had 2 glasses of champagne, and each glass held 150 milliliters. Assuming no spillage, how many guests were at the party? Right? So we have a party and a number of guests, they will serve a total of what? 15 liters, right? Of champagne. Now, each guest had 2 glasses of champagne, and each glass held 150 milliliters. So if one glass, so this is 34, so we're looking at number of, right, so 15 liters of champagne Good? And if we know, if one glass has 150 milliliters, good? Then we know 2 glasses will hold 150 by 2, which is 300 milliliters. Good? But what we want to do, we can convert 300 milliliters into liters. So let's convert 300 milliliters into liters. So we know the relationship. We know that 1000 milliliters is equal to 1 liter. And if I have to convert 300 milliliters into liters, I'm moving from milliliters is smaller than liters. You're moving from a smaller unit to a bigger unit. So it means you're going to divide by 1000. Right? So you're going to divide 300 by 1000. And when I divide 300 by 1000, that should give me 0.3 liters. Good? So my 2 glasses that each person would have, or each guest would have been given, is equal to 0.3 liters. So we have converted the 300 milliliters, which are the 2 glasses each guest would have been given, yeah, into liters, which gives us 0.3 liters. And therefore, if 15 liters of champagne was served, then how many people would have been, how many guests were at the party? So therefore, the number of guests at party will be to divide the 0.3 liters into your 15 liters. So 15 liters divided by 0.3 liters should give us 50. So we have 50 persons who are at the party. Alright? So 50 guests. Right? So, and that answer is C. So let's look at 34, question 34. 35, sorry, question 35. So we have here, so question 35. Right, so the perimeter of a square is 56 centimeters. What's the area of a square? So we know perimeter, so we have a square, and we know the square is a quadrilateral where all 4 sides are of the same length. And let's call one length x. So if it's perimeter, perimeter means distance around. So you know you have all sides of the same length. So x plus x plus x plus x will be 4x is equal to 56 centimeters. So the length of one side is simply to divide 56 by 4. And when we divide 56 by 4, this is 0.5 is 1 remainder 1, 46 minus 4. So it means that the length of one side is 14 centimeters. And if the length of one side is 14 centimeters, then the area of a square will be 14 by 14, and 14 by 14 will give us D, 35D, which is 196 centimeters squared. So the answer there is D. Alright, let's move on to question 36. So 36. The circumference of a circle is 154 centimeters. Given that pi is equal to 22/7, the diameter of the circle in centimeters is. So we have the circumference of a circle. So we have a circle, and you know the circumference is the distance around, and the circumference of a circle, C. So there are 2 representations for the circumference of a circle, right? It's good to know both. So the circumference, we know it has 2 pi r. But we have to also know that twice the radius, remember a circle will have a radius, will also have a diameter. And so twice the radius gives us a diameter. So the circumference can also be stated as diameter times pi. Yeah? So you also know the circumference as a diameter times pi. Twice the radius gives a diameter. And if the circumference of the circle is 154, And you know pi is 22 over 7, so this is diameter times 22 over 7. Then he can make now diameter the subject, so we can determine what's the diameter of that circle. Yeah? So this will be found by simply dividing, or yeah, we can do it this way. We can divide this side by 22 over 7, and what we do to one side, we must do to the other. So let's divide 154 by 22 over 7. So my two 22 over 7s will divide into each other to give 1. I'm going to get the diameter by itself. And this will be 154 divided by 22 over 7, which is the same as 154 multiplied by 7 over 22. Yeah? And when I simplify that, what am I going to get? This will be 154 divided by 22 will give me, if I divide 22 into 154, this will give me 7. And 7 multiplied by 7 will give me a diameter of 49 centimeters. Yeah? So for question 36, the answer is C. So let's look at question 37. So 37, so we have so 37, it states, right, so item 37 refer to the following diagram, which consists of a triangle resting on a square of side 7 centimeters, right? So if the total area of the diagram is 63 centimeters square, what is the value of the height of the triangle? So we have this triangle and it's resting on a square. So we have a triangle, has a perpendicular height h, right? It's resting on a square. We know all 4 sides of the square are equal, and it is 7 centimeters. So we also know that the base of this triangle is 7 centimeters. Yeah, and if the total area of that diagram is 63 centimeters squared, then what is the height? So total area is equal to what? That's the area of the triangle, base by height over 2, plus the area of the square, which is what? Side by side. So the total area is what? 63. The area of the triangle, remember the base of the triangle will be 7 centimeters. So this is what? 7 times the height all over 2. Multiplied by the area of the square, which is what? Side by side, which is side 7 by 7, which will give 49. So this will give us what? This will give us 63 is equal to 7 times the height over 2 plus 49. What I can do is I can minus 49 from both sides. So this will be 63 minus 49 is equal to the 7 times the height all over 2. And when we subtract 49 from 63, we are going to get 14 is equal to 7 times the height all over 2. And therefore, for us to get the height by itself, this is 14 over 1. I must remove that from its fractional form, so I can cross multiply. And that is only done when you have single fractions on either side of an equal sign. We're going to get 1 by 7h is 7 times h. And this will be 14 by 2, which will give us what? 28. And therefore, to get the height, I'm now going to divide 28 by 7. So the height will be 4 centimeters. So for question 37, the answer is B. Alright, let's move on to 38. So 38, right, on leaving Trinidad, the time a pilot's watch was, the time on a pilot's watch was 2300 hours. When he arrived at his destination in the same time zone, on the next day, his watch showed 300 hours. How many hours did the flight take, right? So if you're counting in 24-hour time, of course, we know, you have 12 a.m., you're going to have 12 p.m., and of course, you're going to know you have 24 hours, right? So you're looking at a 24-hour time frame. So therefore, if we have here, we have 12 a.m., you have 12 p.m., which is 12 noon, right? And then we have 12 midnight, looking at 24 hours, good? So 12 a.m., 12 noon, and of course 12 midnight, so looking at 24-hour time. And if it's 2300 hours, we know, and he arrived at his destination 3 hours the following day. There are 300 hours the following day, so this is 1, 2, 3. Then how many hours did the flight take? Of course, 23 from 24 is 1 hour, and 3 hours the following day will be 1 plus 3 hours, which will give us what? 4 hours alone, yeah? So his flight would have taken, this is for question 38, his flight would have taken, so flight took 1 plus 3, which will give us 4 hours. Good? So for question 38, the answer is A. So let's move on to question 39. So 39, we have here, right, Mr. Clark arranged the 15 test scores of a student in order of size and selected the 8th score for reporting purposes. Which of the following statistical measures did Mrs. Clark obtain? So she selected the 8th score, and she arranged the 15 test scores of her students in the order. So 15, number of test scores will be 15. So if the 8th score was selected, then what we can, or the statistical measure that will help us to determine the 8th score will be the median. And the reason why it's the median, because there's a formula for the median we must be familiar with, right? It helps us to locate the position of the median. So, position of median is found by using the formula a half times n plus 1, right? A half times n plus 1's position or rank. So, n of course will be the 15 test scores, the number of test scores. So this will be a half times 15 plus 1, which is a half times 16, and a half times 16 will give us the 8th position, which was obtained, right? So it says here the size and selected the 8th score, so she selected the 8th score. So if she selected the 8th score, as we clearly see by using this formula for median, will indicate that the statistical measure is the what? Is the median. So the median, so the statistical measure is the median. Okay? So that answer there, it is D. So using that formula will help us to determine that. So let's move on to question 40. So question 40, we have here, right, so again, so we would have looked at 2 statistical questions previously, so it means that we are into now the statistical section of the paper, right? So we're going to have a bit of stats and probability, right? Those 2 sections of the paper. So it says here, item 40 to 41 refers to the following diagram, which shows the cumulative frequency curve based on the marks of 200 students who took a driving test. The median marks scored by the 200 students is, so we have to determine for question 40, the median mark. So for us to determine the median mark, we are using this is a cumulative frequency curve, we're using the cumulative frequency curve to help us to determine what's the median mark. And to determine that, normally, You have cumulative frequency, you have your observations, which of course in this case will be your marks. And if you have a cumulative frequency curve, you have the total frequency, which is denoted by n, which is 200 in this case. Good? So this is 200 here. And for us to determine the median mark, we need to first determine the position of the median. So we're going to find a half of the total frequency n. So a half of 200 in this case will be 100. This is 0, this is 0, this is, I believe this is 40, 80, 120. Yes, so this is 40, 80, 120, so this has to be 100. So a half of 200 will give us 100. That's a half n. 100 represents your half n. And what you're going to do to determine the median, you're going to carry out something called interpolation, which is moving from the y-axis to the x-axis. So what I'm going to do is draw a horizontal dotted line across, or solid line, to meet the curve, the cumulative frequency curve, and I travel towards the x-axis. And whatever value I obtain here will represent my median, in this case median mark. So when I draw a horizontal dotted line across, I meet the curve, so I'm interpolating, and I travel towards the mark axis. That looks like about 35, 36, about 37.5 will be my median mark scored. So the median mark scored from my cumulative frequency curve, median mark is 37.5, whose answer is B. Alright, let's move on to 41, and it says 40 and 41 refers to this diagram. So let's see what 41 is all about. So 41, right, so this is 41 here. Of course, the highest mark scored on the test. So the highest mark scored on the test will be, of course, we're looking at the total frequency. So we have 200 students who took the driving test, and therefore the highest mark will correspond to the highest number of students. In this case, we have this will correspond. If you look at the mark axis, straightforward, the highest mark there is what? 60 here. So the highest mark is 60, and that will correspond to 200. Yeah. So the highest mark here is B60. So for question 41, right, the highest mark will be 60. Alright, whose answer is, this is question 41, yes, whose answer is B. Yeah? So let's move on to question 42. So 42. In a box there are 8 red, 7 blue, and 6 green marbles. One marble is picked at random. So one is picked at random. What is the probability that it is neither blue nor green? Probability is neither blue nor green. So if it's probability neither blue or green, then obviously it has to be red. Yeah? Because you have 8 red, 7 blue, 6 green. So what's the probability it is neither blue nor green? Then obviously if it's neither blue nor green, it has to be red. Good? So therefore, the probability, we know probability is how likely something is to occur, and probability is found by using the formula number of ways an event can occur over the total number of possible ways, right? So, what is the probability that it is neither blue nor green, it means that it is a red marble, and the number of ways we can obtain or we can draw a red marble is 8 ways. That's the number of ways it can occur. Over the total number of possible ways will be the total of all the marbles in that box. Good? So that's what? 8 plus 7 is 15. 15 plus 6 is 21. So we're going to get 8 all over 21. But with the probability that it is neither blue nor green. So the answer for question 42 is A. So let's move on to question 43. So 43. So items 43 refer to the following pie chart, which shows the popular games played by 720 students. Good? It says here how many students played cricket. So you want to determine how many students played cricket. So we have here we have 36, of course we have 36 degrees, we have 90 degrees, and we have 30% play basketball, right? So what we can do is, if 30% play basketball, the question is how many students play cricket. So you want to determine how many students play cricket. Okay? So what we can do is first convert all into angles. Good? So let's find out what angle represents cricket. Now if we look, we've seen what angle represents tennis. We've seen what angle represents football. But basketball is represented as a percentage, right? So 30% of the students play basketball. So let's convert the 30% of the students into an angle, okay? So let's determine for basketball, so 43. So basketball is 30% of the students, right? 30% of students, which is 30 over 100 times 720. Yeah? This will be 0 go, 0 go, 0 go, 0 go. So that is 3 by 72, 72 by 3 will give us 216 students. Good? So let us now convert 216 students into an angle. Okay? So this will be, if 720 students are the total number of students who played, popular games, 720 students is equivalent to 360 degrees. So we can say here 360 degrees, or if not, whatever you have to convert to goes on the right of the relationship. So if you have to convert students into an angle, of course, we know that 720 students is equal to 360 degrees. Good? So one student will be equal to 360 degrees divided by 720 students. And therefore 216 students will be equal to how many degrees? This will be 360 divided by 720 multiplied by 216. So this will give us 0 go, 0 go. I know 12 into 36, well 36 into 72, this is what? 36 into 36, 1. 36 into 72 will be 2. And I can now divide 2 into 216, which will give me what? This will give me 108 degrees. So 30 basketball in terms of an angle is 108 degrees. So I know that this here, instead of a percentage, I have converted it into an angle, right? So we know that 30% of the students play basketball, 30% of the students will be 216 students, and we converted 216 students into an angle. Yeah? So it means that this will be 108 degrees as an angle. So therefore, let's convert cricket into an angle, and of course, from there we can convert it into the number of students. You know how many students. So therefore, cricket as an angle will be, so cricket will be 360 degrees, subtract 36 plus 108 plus 90. So 36 plus 108 plus 90 will give us 234. And when I subtract 234 from 360, we're going to get 360 minus 234 will give us 126 degrees. So let's convert 126 degrees now into students. So this will be what? This will be, so 126 degrees represents cricket. So let's convert the 126 degrees into students. So we know the relationship, we know 360 degrees is equal to 720. 1 degree, 720 over 360. And therefore 126 will give us what? This will give us 126 degrees will be 720 over 360 by 126. Good? So we're going to get what? This is, so this is students, sorry. So 360, 720 students divided by 360. So that's 720 divided by 360. 2 and 2 by 126 will give us what? 252. So for question 43, the answer is C. So this is 252 students, whose answer is C. Alright, so let's move on to question 44. So 44, right, items 44 refer to the following two-way table which shows the mode of transportation to school on a particular day for a group of 200 students. So this is 44. A male student is picked at random from the group. What is the probability that he does not walk to school on that day? So a male student is picked at random. So we're focusing on male students, right? Is picked at random from the group. What is the probability that he does not walk? So it means if he doesn't walk, he took the bus or he took a taxi. Not so? So what is the probability he does not walk? So the probability he does not walk will be, again, probability, the number of ways in which an event can occur. Number of ways an event can occur over the total number of possible ways. So the number of ways in which he doesn't walk to school will be either the bus or the taxi. That's the male student, which is 80 over the total number of possible ways, which is 200. So when those two zeros go, I can say 4 into 8 is 2, 4 into 20 is 5. So I'm going to end up with 2/5, whose answer is E. So let's look at question 45. The point where a linear function crosses the horizontal axis of 45. So we all know what's a linear function. It's a line that is what? Sloping. And when you have that linear function and it crosses the horizontal, this is the horizontal axis or your x-axis, that point where it crosses the x-axis is known as the x-intercept, whose answer is B. Alright, so that answer to question 45 is B. So we're looking at here, we're moving into, this is another section where you're treating with a bit of functions, relations, coordinate geometry too will come into play in this section of the paper. Alright, so normally in past paper the multiple choice is broken up into sections. Yeah? So let's look at question 46. So 46, the equation of a line which passes through the point 0, 5 and has gradient 4 is, so 46. So we want the equation of a line. Now the equation of a line is formed by using the formula y is equal to mx plus c. And m represents your gradient, c in that formula is the y-intercept. And those are the two variables we need to replace with numbers. We already know m, the gradient, is 4. And to get c, the y-intercept, I'm going to use that point on the line, which is 0, 5. Yeah? So how am I going to use that point on the line along with my gradient to help me to find c? Pretty easy. I am going to replace, this is my x, that's my y, coordinates of the point. So I'm going to replace y with the y coordinate of the point, which is 5. I'm going to replace m with the gradient, which is 4. I'm going to replace x with the x coordinate of the point, which is 0 plus c. So we're going to get 5 is equal to 0 plus c. C is equal to 5, and therefore we can now state the equation of the line as y is equal to 4x plus 5. So you replace the gradient and the y-intercept with their values, and whose answer for 46 is C. Alright, let's move on to question 47. Which of the following graphs represent a linear? We just spoke about linear function, right? So for 47, obviously the linear function will be A. So this is our linear function, pretty straightforward. So that is A. Let's move on to 48. So 48 states, right, another straightforward and very common question you see, right? The coordinates of the turning point of the function 4 minus x squared. So this is a curve that is concave down. It has a maximum turning point, which is here. And we want to find the coordinates of that turning point, whose x coordinate is 2, which we call the equation of axis of symmetry, and the y coordinate is 4, which is known as your maximum value. So therefore the coordinates of the turning point will be 2, 4. So coordinates of turning point will be 2, 4, whose answer there is D. Okay, so let's move on to 49. So 49, it says, a line L is parallel to that line 3x minus 7y minus 9 is equal to 0. What is the gradient of the line L? So you have this line L, let's assume that's line L, and it is parallel to this line. You know when lines are parallel, they move in the same direction, they never meet. The distance between them is the same, but most importantly, their gradients are the same. So we have this line L, which is parallel to this line whose equation is 3x minus 7y minus 9 is equal to 0. And they want us to determine what is the gradient of the line L. So because these two lines are parallel, their gradients are the same. Whatever is the gradient of this one is the gradient of that one. But I need to find the gradient of this line, which I can find by simply using the equation. Right? So the equation of the line can help me to get the gradient. How? I want to express this equation in the form y equal to mx plus c. I want it in that form. So once I put it in that form, then the number in front of x will represent my gradient. Once I make y the subject. So how am I going to make y the subject? We have 3x minus 7y minus 9 is equal to 0. So we proceeded to make y the subject here. So to make y the subject, I'm going to remove 3x and negative 9. So this will be negative 7y. I'm going to minus 3x on both sides. So I'm going to take this positive 3x and bring it over to the right as negative 3x. And I'm going to remove my negative 9, which comes across as positive 9. And therefore, to make y the subject, I have to remove the negative 7 in front of y by dividing both sides by negative 7. And what is done to one side, and make sure it's done to the other. Negative 3x plus 9 divided by negative 7. So when my two negative 7s on the left divide into each other to give 1, y is now the subject. But at this point here, we have to be very careful, right? We want it in the form y equal to mx plus c. We must be able to actually see mx and plus c, which we're not seeing here. But to make that happen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to separate this, right? Separating is by simply writing this as negative 3x over negative 7. And you're going to put plus 9 over negative 7. And negative 3x all over negative 7 becomes what? This becomes y is equal to a minus divided by a minus is a plus. So you're going to get 3x all over 7. And a plus divided by a minus is a minus 9 over 7. And your 3x over 7, so you can have that clear, mx, right?
Ask him how much papers I should do.
How many papers? Well, tonight we're only doing one paper. Or how many papers you should do? Right. I suggest you see tonight, make sure you do from about 2019 to 2023. Right? So do from 2019 to 2023. You're going to see where a number of the questions will be repeated. You're going to see a lot of common questions in that exam tomorrow. So just do 2019 to 2023 and you're going to see how much doing all those questions will certainly help you in that exam tomorrow. Alright? And also that mock exam that I prepared will certainly help you as well. Right? So remember, if you're interested in taking that mock exam, you have to go to MaidAcademy.com. You have to pay, of course, for it, $250, and you can access it also. Alright? So what's going to happen here? 3x all over 7 is the same as what? Y. When you have 3x over 7, that's the same as 3 over 7x. You can have that clear mx. And c is negative 9 over 7. So now that you have it in the form y equal to mx plus c, m in this case is what? M in this case is 3 over 7. That's the gradient. So the gradient of this line, 3x minus 7y minus 9 equal to 0. I've taken this equation, I've just rearranged it, where I have it in the form y equal to mx plus c, and I've now clearly recognized what's the gradient, which is 3 over 7. So the gradient of this line is 3 over 7. And if the gradient of this line is 3 over 7, then the gradient of this line L is also 3 over 7. And therefore the answer for question 49 is C. So 49C. Let's look at question 50. So 50. We have, right, so functions, right? A bit of functions. If g of x is equal to 7x minus 3 over 5, then what is g of negative 6? This simply means where I see x in my function, I'm going to replace it with negative 6. And again, if you'll do from 2019 to 2023, you can look at my YouTube videos on 2022, 2023. This is 2021. And you're going to see where most of these questions are repeated questions. Once you do from 2019 to 2023, you're in a safe space. Yeah? So this will be what? This will be 7. I'm going to replace x with negative 6 in brackets minus 3 over 5. 7 by negative 6 will be negative 42 minus 3 over 5. Negative 42 minus 3 will give me negative 45 over 5. And therefore I'm going to get negative 45 divided by 5 is negative 9. Whose answer for question 50 is E. So a number of these questions I'm sure you're going to see in the exam. So make sure you practice from 2019 to 2023. It will certainly help. All right, let's look at question 51. Item 51 refers to the following arrow diagram which shows a function f. Which of the following best describes the function? So which one of these expressions best describes the function shown? What we have here is a mapping diagram. So this is your domain representing x. This is your codomain, or this is your range, I should say, representing y. And what we want to do is to determine what function helps us to link the domain to your range. And clearly the function that will help us to do so is for 51. So if you take 2 and replace x with 2 in this function here, y equal to x plus 3. If you replace x with 2 plus 3 will give 5. If you replace x with 5 plus 3 gives 8. If you replace x with 8 plus 3 gives 11. If you replace x with 11 plus 3 is 14. So clearly the best function or expression or relation to map domain onto range will be E. Alright, let's look at question 52. 52. The range of f is such that x is mapped onto x cubed. And again, this is a section dealing with functions, dealing with coordinate geometry. For the domain negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2 is, so this is 52. So just a simple case, this is your domain, something like what we just saw with the question before. We have our what? We have our domain, which is negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. We want to determine what is the range, right? For the given relation, f is such that x is mapped onto x cubed. So we're going to treat with that. So when we see x, we're going to replace it with negative 2. So this is negative 2 in brackets cube, and negative 2 cube is negative 8. So negative 2 gives negative 8. When it's negative 1, negative 1 cube will give what? That is negative 1 cube is negative 1. So negative 1 is linked to negative 1. When it's 0 cube, 0 cube will give 0. When it's 1 cube gives what? 1. And when it's 2 cube gives what? 8. So our range for that given domain will be negative 8, negative 1, 0, 1, and 8. Whose answer for 52 is D. Okay, let's move on to 53. So 53, it says, right, so again we have, right, so we get an interpreter of the transformations. Well, normally they mix the transformation vectors, matrices, but let's see, this here is a transformation. Item 53 refers to the following diagram of a transformation. Which transformation maps PQR onto P prime, Q prime, R prime? So this is a clear reflection, because for reflection we must have a mirror line separating your object and image, and normally the image is a flip of the object. So if you flip that object PQR about that mirror line, you're going to get P prime, Q prime, R prime. So the answer here obviously is reflection. whose answer is for 53B. So 53B. Alright, let's move on to 54. So 54. In which of the following polygons does the sum of the measures of the interior angles is equal to the sum of the measures of the exterior angles? Alright? And this will be applicable to a quadrilateral, because note, for any polygon, the sum of exterior angles is always 360. Good? So you want to look at a polygon whose sum of interior angles will also give you 360. Good? So the only polygon that will allow that to happen is a quadrilateral. So take a rectangle, for example. When you add up 90, 90, 90, 90, what are you going to get? Now 360. And these interior angles will also have what? Exterior angles. They'll have exterior angles as well. This is interior. This is exterior. Right? Interior, this is exterior. Right? Interior, this is exterior. Interior, this is exterior. So when you add up all the exterior angles as well, what do you get? 360, right? Yeah? So that obviously will be a quadrilateral. So that answer is quadrilateral, whose answer there is D. Okay, so let's look at 55. So 55. So item 55 refers to the following diagram of a straight line y equal to x. What is the image of the line y equal to x when it is rotated anti-clockwise through an angle of 90 degrees? So if I'm to rotate this 90 degrees anti-clockwise, that's what's going to happen. Rotating it 90 degrees anti-clockwise to allow this to happen. So you're moving in that direction anti-clockwise, and let's take this end here and move it 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Still moving anti-clockwise. So we're going to move from here to here 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Right, so moving anti-clockwise. Okay? So therefore this line y equal to x, when it moves through an angle of 90 degrees anti-clockwise, becomes y is equal to negative x. So that line there drawn is the line y equal to negative x. So for question 55, the line is y is equal to negative x, whose answer is D. Let's move on to question 56. So 56, we have here, right, again, so you see, so you have a lot of the transformations questions coming down to the latter part of the paper. But again, you see matrices, you see vectors, you see transformations, that section. But of course, coming on to the latter part, sometimes we will, throw in a bit of the transformations. So in the diagram, so item 56, we put to the following diagram of a translation, which is a form of transformation, a method of transforming. In the diagram, the translation by which AB is mapped onto A prime, B prime is represented by what? So we have A, which is your object, you have A prime, which is your image. It is a translation, so you have to know the formula for a translation. The formula for a translation is this. It is the object plus the translation will give you your image. So the object here, you can take anyone. If you want to take A prime, B prime, it doesn't matter, you get the same thing. So let's go with A, which is the object. And I'm going to move this from a row vector to a column vector. So I'm going to write it as 2, 5. Plus my translation, which I don't know, will give me my image A prime, which I'm going to write as from a row vector to a column vector 4, 6. So to get your translation T, I'm going to transpose. So T is equal to, this will be A prime, which is the image, 4, 6, subtract the object A, 2, 5. So therefore, T translation will be 4 subtract 2 and 6 subtract 5. Of course, 4 subtract 2 will give me 2, 6 subtract 5 gives me 1. So the translation there is a 2, 1, B. And this is a common question, common repeater. I love to repeat this question, so make sure you know this. Right? So this is B. Not just knowing what's the answer, make sure you know how to work it out, just in case they change the object and image points. Good? Alright, so let's look at 57. So 57. Right, so you see, so coming on to the latter part of the exam as well, we'll bring in a bit of trigonometry. Good? So we have this right angle triangle, and the triangle angle BAC, which is this angle here, is 30 degrees. AB is 40 meters. What is the length of BC in meters? So again, using trigonometry to help us to determine the length of BC. This is A, this is C, and this is B. And we have this angle here, this acute angle of 30 degrees. This is 40 meters. So for us to find BC, I'm introducing trigonometry. So the side opposite 30 is known as side opposite. So you always label the sides first once you're using trigonometry. The side opposite the right angle, it is known as the hypotenuse. And the remaining side of the triangle is the adjacent side. So if I have to find BC, I circle the side I need to find for me to recognize what trig function I'm going to use. I always circle the side I need to find, and I circle the side I have information for. The trig function that links the two that I've circled, opposite and hypotenuse, will be sine theta. So sine theta is equal to side opposite all over the hypotenuse. Sine theta, which is 30 degrees, sine 30 degrees is equal to the side opposite, which is BC, over your hypotenuse, which is what? 40. And therefore, to get BC by itself, I'm going to put sine 30 all over 1. And I'm going to carry out the process of cross multiplication so I can get BC as a subject. 1 by BC is BC, and this will be 40 by sine 30. So I'm going to get 40 sine 30. So the height of BC will be 40 sine 30, whose answer is A. So 57 is A. Let's move on to 58. So 58, right, again transformations I'm looking at here, an enlargement. So item 58 refer to the following diagram of an enlargement. So OAA prime, OAA prime, OBB prime, OCC prime are straight lines. Triangle ABC is mapped onto triangle A prime, B prime, C prime by an enlargement with center O, center of enlargement. What is the scale factor? So in order for a figure to become enlarged, the scale factor is important. It tells us by how much the object is enlarged by. Good? So let's determine how much this image is enlarged by compared to its object. Okay? So to determine that, we're going to use 58, the scale factor, which we often denote by K. And the scale factor is the image length over object length. Your image length, and you can take any length on that image and of course the corresponding length on the object. So if you want to go with this length here, if you want to go with A prime, C prime, and it doesn't matter which one you take, obviously the corresponding object will be AC. A prime, C prime, let's see how many units. This will be what? 1, 2, 3, 4 units. That's my length. And AC will be 1, 2 units. So that's my length. So when I divide 2 into 4, I'm going to get a scale factor of 2. So the scale factor that allows my image to be enlarged compared to its object will be that of 2, whose answer is C. Alright, let's look at 59. So 59, we have here, right, so this is another common question, a bearings question. A plane is flying in a direction of 45 degrees and changes course in a clockwise direction of 135 degrees. The angle through which the plane turn is. So of course, we deal with a bearing shows the position of one object relative to another. So we have this plane flying in a direction of 45 degrees, that's your bearing. So for us to show that on a diagram, obviously a plane, let's assume the plane flew from the airport. So this is the airport here. And when treating with bearings, you must always set up what? First, your north line, right? So you set up the north line. Every north will have a south, east and west. Those lines you can erase after, those dotted lines. And if it is flying on a bearing of 45 degrees, I start from my north line and I move in a clockwise direction. And you assume that's 45. So I can show where is the position of the plane from my airport. Let's call the airport A. So I'm going to draw a line from A to that point, which is my plane. So I'm showing where my plane is flying on a bearing of 45 degrees. But then what happens? This plane is going to change course, right? It changes course and it moves in a clockwise direction of 135 degrees. So let's show this plane changing course and moving in a clockwise direction of bearing of 135 degrees. How are we going to show that? At P, I set up my north line. Every north again will have a what? South, east and west. Of course, these lines you can erase after. And I'm going to move in a clockwise direction from the north, clockwise. I'm assuming 135 is somewhere around there, right? A bearing of 135. So this is my plane moving in that direction now. This is my bearing of 135 degrees. So the plane started from the airport, it flew here, and then it flew here. Good? So they want us to determine through what is the angle through which this plane turns. What is this angle here? That is the angle through which the plane turns. We have to find that angle. So to find that angle, this is where we're going to introduce a bit of very important angles that are applicable to lines that are parallel. Your two north lines are parallel lines. And when lines are parallel, remember alternate, corresponding and co-interior angles will come into play. So if I have two parallel lines, and I have this box shape, you all see that box shape? Box shape. Then these two interior angles here, call one A, call one B. When you add them, you must get 180 degrees. So if you know one, you can find the other. So look at the box shape here. My two north lines are parallel lines, and this is my box shape. So this is 45 degrees. I can subtract 45 degrees from 180 degrees. Which will help me to determine this angle here. So 45 from 180 will give me 135 degrees. And therefore, having found this angle of 135, knowing this bearing of 135, I can now determine the angle through which the plane turns. So I'm going to add 135 to 135, which will give me 270. And when I subtract 270 from 360, then it shows that the plane turns to an angle of 90 degrees. Whose answer there is B? Alright, and let's look at now the last question, 60. So 60, in a triangle PQR, angle P is x degrees, angle Q is 2x degrees. What is the size of angle R? So you have this triangle PQR, angle P is x degrees, angle Q is 2x degrees, and they want us to determine what is the size of angle R. What is this angle here? Good? So to find that angle, what we're going to do? We know that the sum of three angles of a triangle will give us what? 180 degrees. So this will be what? We know that the angle R will be, to add my x and 2x, is going to be 180 degrees. And of course I'm going to take the sum of these two angles and subtract it from 180 to give me the angle at R. So this will be 180 degrees subtract the sum of these two angles, 2x degrees plus x degrees. So R is equal to 180 degrees subtract 2x plus x is 3x degrees. And of course 180 degrees minus 3x is 180 degrees minus 3x, right? So we can't subtract those two. So that remains as is. So the answer here will be D. Alright? So this brings us to the end of this question and this paper. Note, this is a June 2021 paper. Keep in mind to ensure that you're fully ready for this exam tomorrow. I will, humbly suggest that you do from June 2029, January 2019, sorry, all the way up to 2023. Those past papers, and that will certainly help you to prepare for that exam tomorrow. Also remember that you can access my mock exam through maidacademy.com. So it's a cost of $250. So that will certainly help you as well to prepare for the exam tomorrow. So I suggest that you go on to maidacademy.com and you purchase the mock exam, right? That's the step. Yeah? Alright? Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you, how to access it and how the exam will look on maidacademy.com, right? How the mock exam, how to access it, and how it will look if you have to attempt it. Keeping in mind, there's a cost attached to it, all right, of $250 TT. So I'll quickly show you how to access it. Right, so this is the website, maidacademy.com. So you go to My Courses, you click on the three dots to the far right, you go to Learning page, you're going to see different sections. So those sections will have all the exams. Well, it has been, the paper has been broken up into sections, and you have the exams in each section. So you can attempt those exams to help you. If you go down to the section 9, you're going to see mock exams or the mock exam quiz. When you click on mock exam quiz, you click on quiz page, and you have all these questions that you can attempt to test your knowledge. Yeah? And of course, select A, B, C, what have you, to determine. And of course, at the end, you're going to be given your final score, so you know how you perform. Yeah? So it's good to test your knowledge, test your abilities, to ensure that you are ready for this exam tomorrow. So you can access this on maidacademy.com. at a cost of $250 TT. Alright? Yeah? So you have all the assessments. You have 8 sections of assessments. So take full advantage. Alright? Take full advantage. Yeah? So with that said, everyone, it was a pleasure working with you and serving you, ensuring that I can share my knowledge to help you to prepare for this exam. Don't forget to subscribe to my page. Tell everyone, tell a friend, tell family about Moyo Math. Right? And we're going to continue pushing and working hard to achieve success. That's the aim of Moyo Math, to ensure that we can allow students to be very successful at the end of the day, in the examinations. And I'm going to continue along with my team to work very hard to ensure that that is possible. Alright? Good. So wishing everyone all the best in your exam tomorrow. Tonight, make sure you do from 2019 to 2023, January and June, and will certainly help you in that exam tomorrow. Alright? So that said, take care. All the best.